Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on this Saturday morning. Um, as mentioned, I'm Chris Young, and my co-presenter here, Dr. Cynthia Gonzalez, and I know that we are both very, very excited to really kind of show you some three big ticket items here in regards to Make Music Cloud and how it can really help you be even more successful with your choral rehearsals, with your choral classrooms, and really being able to extend yourself beyond the classroom as well. So I know that we have a very short amount of time here, so we're gonna kind of jump right in. And before we do that, though, Cynthia, if you had any introductions here before we kind of jump in.
I'm excited to be here with you this morning and share many possibilities for how to engage, make music in your choral rehearsal and in your teaching.
Awesome. Well, one of the first things we're going to jump into here is our library. And that's one of the things that I'm very much excited here to talk about. And so let me go ahead and share my screen here and make sure we got the sound on so everyone can hear. And so one of the things that I would like to highlight here with our libraries, we have a very vast collection of choral scores here, and not just choral scores, also method books that Cynthia here will talk about in just a moment. But I'm going to focus here a little bit on the repertoire. And so one of the pieces I have is one of my favorites. This was one of my students' favorites my last year of teaching high school, as well as the Sherry Porterfield Agnus Dei. And what you're looking at is exactly what the students would actually see. So, with any repertoire piece, you can assign them to students. You can assign them to your classes. And with classes, you can create as many classes as you would like. One thing that I would always like to recommend is creating individual classes for your voice parts. So, you can have a sopranos only class, alto, tenor, bass, etc., as well as creating a class just for sight reading. And that's something I'll talk about a little bit later as well. But that really lets you have specific data sets so that as you're assigning anything, whether it be sight reading or repertoire here, you'll be able to really just pinpoint what you're looking for. So as I mentioned, this is exactly what the students would see when they open it up. And so if I were an alto, of course, I would have my alto part right here. From up here, you can see all of the other different parts as well. And so up here at the very top, this is where we have all of our little sliders here to adjust different things. We have the accompaniment, we have my part, and then of course the metronome. And so all these things are going to affect what the student hears when they hit play, so they can listen through, do their own practicing on their own, or when they hit record. So let's just say you have assigned this, you'll be able to see that when they hit record, they'll be able to toggle these depending on the settings that you have set. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and play just so you get an idea of what the students are going to hear.
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi.
And so one of the first things I like to highlight is the fact that as you just heard, the students are going to have a professional recording, which is amazing. So it's not just the MIDI sound anymore. They're going to have that professional recording so that they will always have that context of what the full ensemble sound is. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to continue on here, but I'm going to toggle the different sliders up here just so you get a sense of what that does for the student.
Miserere.
So as you can see right there, the students, as they're going through it, they'll be able to toggle whether or not they want to hear a louder accompaniment for their backup, if they want to just focus in on their part. But the other cool thing, especially with having the professional recording, is as you're going through and you're talking through, especially with Latin or any foreign language, they're going to have that continued as a reference point as well. And as I mentioned, that you can assign these things. So when it comes to assigning any repertoire, you can assign just specific sections. So let's just say you were working measures 4 through 8. you could just go ahead and assign measures 4 through 8 for your choir, and they can go ahead and focus on that. Couple of things up here to take a look is these other tools here for you. So if you wanted to loop certain things, and I'm just going to go ahead and move my window here so I can see my full screen. But if you click loop up here, as you can see, you can kind of select um, where you want your measures here to be looped from. So you can go ahead and click set. And so from right here, let's just say we did want to go ahead and work measures 4 through 8. You can go ahead and set that as the assignment. And then you'll notice up here you can actually increase. Now, this is already a slow tempo, but if you had something that was faster, you can have it start at a slower tempo, and then it would increase every single time that they go through the loop so that they're not only starting off slow, but then you're building them back up to that concert tempo. So that's a little bit about just with this on-use day. And so with the oh, I'm sorry, one last thing that I did forget. So if anyone had loses a reference pitch as well, you'll notice they click here on this on the note here. They'll always have where they can get that reference pitch when it comes to any of the notes here on the page. I mentioned the assigning part, so I do want to at least highlight a little bit of that as well. So when you click assign, you'll come to these sections. Right here, you can add specific instructions. This preview and customize, as I mentioned, here is where you can assign specific measures, where you can assign specific parts, and then you can either select select all the parameters to all of the parts, or you can just do something specifically for your sopranos or for your basses. Down here is where you would have your gradebook options. And a new feature that we've just implemented recently here is video recording. And so this is going to be huge if you're looking for vowel shape, if you want to check for their breathing. Are they breathing in the right spots where you've had them in your notes for that? You can customize what they see. So what you just saw was just in that open practice mode, but for the assessment itself, you can have it so it highlights measures, cursor movement, the display of the feedback. So when they're actually recording their part, you can have it set to student choice. You can turn it off completely, or you can have it completely on. That's when they would see red, green, yellow notes as they're actually recording. Here's where you can choose to have, if you want it just their part and you don't want them to have the accompanying backup, you can go ahead and toggle all those things where the little sliders are at the top. And then down here, if you wanted to make a specific section of a piece as sight reading, you can also turn it either into a sight reading assignment, or you can turn it into rhythm only. So that was a very, very brief high-level overview of what you can do with any of the repertoire or method books pieces that are in the library. And so as we start talking about method books, I'm actually going to turn it over to Cynthia here, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the method books as well as our Compose tool.
And in the chat, we are going to drop a PDF that is a resource of vocal and choral materials within MakeMusic Cloud. So the beginning of the list includes warming up exercises and some oral skills, and then a sample of some of the sight reading collections that are within MakeMusic Cloud. Let's start with some vocalises. And here is from Building Beautiful Voices, a standard vocalese of descending through 5 notes. And I really like this for starting a rehearsal where I'm not at the piano. Instead, as Chris showed you, I have looped this, and that's what these little circles are. And it is going to play in D major and in E flat, just up and down a half step. And that's the advantage of the vocalises inside Building Beautiful Voices. It's not just in one key, but as if you yourself were at the piano, it's going up and down by half step. A little bit of sound of this. In the modulation. And you can loop that as many to play repeatedly until you're done warming up. The advantage is that if MakeMusic is providing the accompaniment, then you can walk amongst your students, listening to individuals, complimenting them on their posture, their vowel production, their tone quality, and Building Beautiful Voices has more than 50, I think it's 60 vocalises um, for you to work through. Another component of vocal choral resources inside MakeMusic Cloud is the listen sing method, and this is a collection of oral skills. For example, there are 52 echo sing exercises. So if you are working with people learning to read music, also, this is a great resource for students who are still struggling with matching pitch. In the first measure, they hear what in the next measure they're going to sing. Solfege is given and notation is given. So they're learning to associate what they hear, the sound of music, with how it's notated and with the solfege labels. And that's a wonderful resource for starting people learning to read music before they accelerate to sight reading. Another skill inside the listen sing method is sing tonic for pitch retention. And these I always set at a fast tempo. That's why this is at 100. And they hear a tonicization pattern. Well, we'll just start this. So the skill here is to retain the pitch that is tonic even when in the measures where there's a rest, there's not tonic. You hear something different while you're retaining tonic, building that skill for pitch retention. Now let's move over to the Compose tool. The Compose tool is from the left-hand frame, and there are three different ways that you can work within composing pieces. One is to create a brand new document, another is to import, and another is to open something that you previously had saved. I'm going to start a new document to model how to do this very quickly. Add an ensemble. I'm going to go down here and find an SSA, and uh, so here's my soprano, soprano, alto. Click next, and let's say D major. And I just want 4 measures. I'm going to create a little sight reading, and I want to work in compound time. So 6/8 is the time signature. And because it's 6/8, I'm going to set this at pretty slow, and I will give it a title of SS for sight singing. So that tells me right away this is a sight singing exercise. And I'm in 6/8, and I'm going to talk about 2 big beats equals 6/8 notes. So there's my title, create the score. Now I'm going to go, now file, save. Every time you do something, you want to save. I'm going to go over to open because I have already started one of these. I'm not going to save that for right now. And here is a half complete example. And you can tell I finished out my soprano 1 and my alto, but I didn't finish my soprano 2 part. Now I can input individual notes by clicking note and then the individual note that I want, or inside note, I can highlight a measure, copy it. Well, I don't want soprano 1 and 2 to sing exactly the same thing. I want soprano 2 to be down a third. So I've already input that same contour once, and I can just copy and paste. And I'll do that for this next measure as well. And confirming that I want to go down a third for the soprano 2, apply. And now I have a complete sight reading. And that's just highlighting big beats in 6/8 along with the eighth notes. Another uh, option is to upload an XML or a MIDI file. So we can go over to the Choral Public Domain Library, and I have chosen to upload the Tomás Luis de Victoria O Magnum Mysterium. And off to the right side of some of the information, there is a green circle with some lines through it. And that means that it is available as an MXL. And MXL files can be imported into the Compose feature. So I'm back at my main Compose page, and I have the word import. So that opens up my downloads folder, and I had already downloaded it. And so now I'm going to open that up, and Make Music is reading it. Press go, and it's going to look for some confirmation that I want all those parts. And there it is. Now, this is going to be a MIDI performance. So that's a sample of that. And as Chris showed, as with any other normal piece from the performance library, we can assign this through File, um, Assign. I can open it as Practice. I can send it. I can share it to another Make Music user account, and so there's lots of options for that. Let's see. I That's a fair amount for Compose. You can compose from scratch. You can open something you've already composed and saved inside your Make Music account, or you can upload an XML file and expand your choral library that way.
I did just see a question here about students being able to compose. Students, if you have student seats as well, yes, they would have access to that compose tool. And so I've worked with a lot of folks that will, especially with their composition-minded students, they'll assign them tasks to either compose a warm-up, for example, or go in there and play around with the compose tool, and they'll work together with them on that as well. So, thanks for the information and insight there on the Compose tool. I'm going to jump here into sight reading, as I know that, at least for me, and I'm sure many can relate, time is always just such a valuable thing when it comes to our rehearsals, and especially if you're in the middle of a concert season, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, I've got to focus on my concert rep, but you don't want to let sight reading go by the wayside. We have an amazing tool built in here called Sight Reading Studio. Just real quick over here. So when you log in with an account, just hover your mouse, your cursor over here on the left. You'll bring out this pull-out menu. This is where you'll be able to come to. So I highlighted earlier the music catalog here. Cynthia was just talking about Compose. And here we're going to jump in here into Sight Reading Studio. So, Sight Reading Studio is a great way to constantly have just brand new, fresh sight reading examples that you can do either in class as an in-class activity, or like I showed you with the repertoire, you can assign these as actual assignments as well. So, as I mentioned, if you're in the middle of a concert season and you're like, okay, we really need to dedicate all of our rehearsal time to concert repertoire, well, your students don't have to be off the hook for sight reading. You can say, all right, I'm going to assign you a sight reading assignment so that they have that to do at home. So what you're looking at is the first main page here. And so if you have any templates that you've created, I'll walk you through here how to create a template. But any templates you've already saved, they're going to live right here so that you have immediate access to them. But starting from scratch, you would just hit here, start new template. And you can either pick and choose from a list of all instruments, or I'm going to show you here just from ensembles. And so right there, we're going to choose choir, and we're going to go in SATB. But when you click next, this is still all fully customizable. So let's just say you are working with a three-part ensemble. You can just click here on voice, and you can add or subtract as need be, depending on which ensemble you're working with. So all of that is going to be customizable. And then here is where we have our difficulty presets. So we go from preset 1, which is very basic, really good for rhythm, everything is in unison, all the way up to preset 10. Really, the sweet spot is going to be really right around here, this 3 and 4. And so that's really where you're going to be able to start adding in, if you're not just focusing on rhythm, you're going to be able to add in some melodic things in there. So I'm going to show you here, starting off with just a preset 4 here. And by the way, you'll notice here with the presets, no matter what, it'll give you an example, not only here telling you what exactly is in the preset, but then you'll also see an example here, and you can just click generate a new score within each so that you can get an idea what would be in each preset. So when you click next here, this is the base. Everything that's checked is base built into that preset. But as you can see, with everything being customizable, if you have worked on any of these additional time signatures, you can add them into that. Same thing with rhythm patterns. So all of these through preset 4 are going to be added. But let's just say if you have any of these other rhythm patterns that you have worked on, or you want to include like triplets, you can add them in regardless of whatever preset you might be working with. And then same thing with key signatures. So especially if we're getting into long lines like festival season, things like that, you'll be able to add in different key signatures. We have major, we have minor, all of that you can add in. And then if you wanted to add any of these additional tempo indicators, metronome markings, things like that, but this is all going to be built into that preset. And so once you're done and you have all that, you can just click done. And then now we have everything built in. And so every time you click generate a new score, with everything that you just fed into that template, now that's what it's going to create brand new sight reading every single time. Now, this is still fully customizable. So up here, for example, if you wanted to go into musicality, you could, for example, go in here to melodic options. You can change different settings here. Ensemble options for sure. You can generate exercise for the full ensemble. Here you can actually generate exercise for each independent uh, voice part. So if I have that, now all of a sudden we see we have each voice part having their own individual line, so that's not just in unison. Uh, Most importantly here, under parts and other part options. So if you are working on solfege, you can have it so that they do have the solfege already up there in every single sight reading assignment that is generated here. You can also have note names if you want to work on that. You can also have counting added if you're working on rhythm things, or if you just want them to see how the uh, beats line up on their own individual parts. So all of these can be added as you are going through any of your sight reading examples. So once you're done here, up here with this little assign marker. So if you were to click that, here's where you can assign a template or the exercise. Now, if you assign the template, students will be able to just work on those specific skills. They'll be able to, generate new scores on their own. Or if you're looking to assign just the specific exercise itself. So let's just say we were looking at this one, you could just assign this specific exercise. One thing here is also this disc, just as Cynthia mentioned, anytime that you're creating anything, whether it be in Compose or Sight Reading Studio, definitely save your changes. And so right here, you could highlight it and you can update this to be like, yep, this is my SATB, sight reading. Um, you could do need level 4. You can have whatever customized name so that you can always refer back to it. So up here, you can also share it as well. So you can go ahead and share this either publicly with everyone who is a part of your platform. So if you have either a school platform with multiple choral teachers on it, or you're on a district platform, you could share that template. Same thing with the exercise itself. And so when you open this up, just to give you an idea of what the students would see if this were an assignment. So if this were an assignment, students would, again, you'll see all the settings right here. When they're hit ready, this is going to test for their microphone. They'll go through all of this to give an idea. And so up here is the countdown. So depending on the timer, you can have that set. The base default setting is 45 seconds. You can change that. But there, they would be able to have that countdown so they can study that. They could even start now. And there you see exactly what that feedback is looking like. So as they're going through in real time, if you had that turned on fully for the students, or if you gave them the option and they turned it on, they would see the green notes. They would see yellow if they were dragging or rushing. They would see red notes if it was not right. And then they would see the score immediately right there. And so for there, they can go into a new exercise. Very simple, or they could just say that they were done. And so going right into that endless cycle there so that they will always have that that sight reading example, sight reading template for them to go ahead and complete for you. So actually I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And then right here as well, so I mentioned that you could also do this within the context of your class. This right here, I'm actually not sure why it's showing the current ensemble menu, but right here, that would go ahead and change. So let me go ahead and go back to a different example here. So right here, you'll notice this says launch ensemble mode. And right now what you're seeing is just a base preset level one. So if you're in class here, and actually let me go ahead and just turn on solfege as well so we have that. So if you put it into ensemble mode, now all of a sudden you can put this up on your board. You can do this as a class activity before you hit play and have students. You can change the study time. You can change and customize how much time you want to give them for the count off. I would actually always start off at 2. For display options, you can have it just showing all voice parts. I would actually recommend going with the horizontal scroll here. And so what happens now is with all of this preset done, you can hit play. And so now, again, up here is that countdown. So you're in the middle of your class or at the beginning of the class. And now you've got this up on the board. Students are looking at it, they are working on it. If you feel everyone is ready before 45 seconds is done, you can also skip the study time. And so this is what will happen when everyone is ready. And so that would work as well again if we had even altered that here with the ensemble option and we had exercises for independent voice parts right there. So it would still go ahead and be able to do all of that there for your class activity as well. So again, great way to continue building those sight reading skills. Also making sure that you are staying within the context of time and making sure that you are making sure that everything is going as smooth as you want it to be, especially in the context of your rehearsal. So those were the three big ticket items here that we kind of really wanted to cover. I'm actually going to talk about next here, just some of the other features so that you will have an idea of the reach that this has. So one of the things with MakeMusic Cloud is mobile compatibility. So this will work across all mobile devices, whether that be their phone, whether that be a tablet, that works with Apple devices, with Android devices. And so if you're one-to-one technology, of course, it'll work on Chromebooks, but this will be able to be hopefully help things be more accessible to students, especially when you're whether you're doing things in the classroom, maybe you have pull-out lessons, things like that, or if you're assigning them again for home. In terms of assignment features, I very briefly covered how to talk about how do you actually create an assignment. But that's something that any of us would be able to work with you on if you have a subscription. Me or any of the folks on my team, we will be working with you to make sure that all of your questions would be answered on that. But in terms of saving takes, again, you can go ahead and make sure that students have that so that they are doing multiple takes and they can submit the one that they feel is best, so they don't feel pressured like, oh, it's a one and done, that was it. No, they can save different takes and they can submit to you what they feel is the best. This is what I mentioned a little bit earlier, is where you saw the green notes, yellow, red. You can customize what students have in terms of those options. Excuse me. And then, of course, we are always tweaking and improving our assessment algorithm so that when students are recording, it is as accurate. I mentioned earlier about the video assignments. And so again, with this feature, this is great if you are looking for vowel shape, if you are looking for breathing. And so that's what it would look like. That's actually an example of a good sight reading exercise. But if you are also looking to do check for clapping when you're looking through rhythms, things like that, you can have that video turn on so that students can submit their video on top of their actual audio recording. Okay. Oh, and of course, those are the two tools that we had just talked about. And then these are some recent and upcoming updates that are coming here just in time for back to school season. So, with Google Classroom, we are now going to have grade pass back in there. So, whatever is in your Make Music gradebook will now be able to sync with Google Classroom. And we are working on having that with other LMSs, but we are right now going to be having that with Google Classroom. The practice assessment improvements. So we're going to be able to make sure that teachers and students have more insight with greater visibility on that pitch accuracy and timing. And then specifically for teachers, going more deep into the actual analytics so that you are able to get a really, really good authentic picture of what's going on in terms of your student engagement, practice habits, things like that. So as I mentioned with Google Classroom, now there's no need to download a separate file so that you have to download from Make Music and then upload that file into your Google Classroom gradebook. Now it will transfer just seamlessly. And as I mentioned, we are looking to add additional LMS connections soon. This is an example of what the improved analytics for the teachers are going to be. So as you can see, we have all these different graphs here and charts to make sure that you have a good understanding of what's going on when it comes to your engagement and the participation of your students. And of course, this will be always great if you are looking to communicate that with your parents as well. And then these are the assessment improvements. And so again, we wanted to really focus on giving students more insight as to what was going on. And so as you can see, when they are going through, they click on that red note and they can see what the computer heard. They can hear their take. They can hear the original. And then, of course, here with the overall score as well. I would be remiss to also not mention that, yes, this is all the automated part, but when students submit the assignment itself, there is a place for you to submit exact feedback so that you can always communicate to your students like, this is really just kind of like an upfront thing, but you as a teacher are going to be listening, and that's the most important part because you will be able to provide that personal and specific feedback for your student assignments. So that's a very high level overview of Make Music Cloud. And so I definitely wanted to make sure that we left some time here for any questions. Oh, I do see a question here. Do you lose customization if there's disruption in the subscription? Um, just my understanding based on that question. So if you have a paid subscription, for example, and it lapses and things like that, it would just revert back to the free account. And so the only thing that you would have access to is whatever is just in the free catalog, for example. A lot of the repertoire there, though, is there for the paid subscription. So what you just saw today was everything that was there built into the paid subscription.
There's a really good question here. How would you use the teacher account during a rehearsal? Can you give me some ideas? Well, one a great way to use it is with warm-ups. And I demoed that at the very, very beginning, if you were already logged in at that point. But you can hit play, and if you loop it, then it will loop over the span of the score that you've asked it to play. And that frees you from having to be at the piano if you're the conductor. And that freedom to walk amongst your students is great. If you don't have an assistant conductor, if you don't have an accompanist in your rehearsal, then you can play one of the performance plus pieces or play the actual piece as an accompaniment while while you're conducting and leading the rehearsal so that you're not having to be at the piano and conducting. Several years ago at one of these Make Music Connect sessions, a band director uh, modeled how he chooses a student to be the DJ for class. And before class, in his planning period, he sets up all the Make Music tabs on his browser so that the student DJ moves from tab to tab so that you can involve your students in leading the rehearsal. So if you set up your tabs, maybe some warm-ups, some sight singing, something from Sight Reading Studio, and then repertoire, and ask a student to run the computer, Make Music can be your teaching assistant throughout the entire rehearsal. I hope that gives you some ideas, and probably you'll come up with even better ideas on your own.
And adding to that also as well, just the sight reading studio, as you saw in ensemble mode. So when you put that up in ensemble mode, that could be a great just opening activity for your students. Or if you started off with the concert repertoire piece and you kind of want to break it up and put sight reading in the middle, that's another great thing as well. There's a great question about the library as well. So no, the library is not just full of Alfred music. There are also other publishers that are up there. If the music that you are looking for is not up there, we do have a repertoire submission form. So please continue to submit repertoire that is not in there so that we know what is out there that our teachers are looking for. But we do always have that submission request form. Um, I did see something here. Oh, yeah, browsing the catalog by Choral Music by voicing. So actually in that search bar, you can put in different things like SATB, for example, and anything that has SATB in there will show up, or SAB. So you can actually search by voicing. Um, there's still something that may not be pulled up if it's not like explicitly stated, for example. You might still have a little bit of digging to do with that, but most of our pieces there are labeled with their voicings in there. So if you do search by SATB, SAB, you will be able to pull up different pieces via that as well. Also, there's a whole checklist as well. So if you're looking for just choir, and yes, also SSA. And if you're also just looking for a general broad search, you can just check the box that says choir, and it will pull up everything. So repertoire, method books, things like that. Um, and then yes, a great thing there that actually, Cynthia, if you want to just talk a little bit more about that state list.
Sure, sure. If your state has published a list of choral works that are acceptable for state contests, then look at the URL that I dropped into the chat, makemusic.com/state dash lists, and then find your state. And there are lists of repertoire that are in Make Music Cloud from the state lists. It's a great way to find perhaps something you're still looking for, that last piece to take for contest, and there's repertoire right there. And if it's already in Make Music, that will make the learning and the teaching of a new piece of music a little bit easier for you. But State Lists is a great resource.
And also, if it isn't in the catalog as well, but if it's on CPDL, as Cynthia showed, you can also, if there's an XML file for there, you can at least import that into Make Music Cloud so that you have that as a practice tool. So that's also another great way. So what is the print add-on? So the print add-on is an extra thing that is not part of the base subscription. And so with the print add-on, that is a base of 20 minimum subscriptions that you have to have with the agreement that we have with our publishers. And so you do need a minimum of 20 always with print add-ons, but that would be $15.99 per print on top of the teacher and student subscriptions. No, the 30-day trial is just for teacher access. So that's just something to give you a chance to go in there, get comfortable with the platform, and try out all of the features that you just saw today. How long does it typically take? Fortunately, that one I don't have an exact answer for, but I do know that as pieces are coming in, every single form is actually looked at. So please always know it's not just like, oh, I'm submitting a form and it's going off into the ether. That is actually looking. We actually have people actually looking at the forms. Uh,
Another advantage of repertoire within Make Music Cloud, if you take your students to solo and ensemble, there is a lot of vocal solo repertoire. There's three editions by different publishers of the standard 24 Italian hits, for example. Lots of vocal repertoire. And this allows vocalists in preparing their solos to work with the accompaniment, or if you have a really inquisitive young person who wants to choose their own solo, you might send them off to find a solo in Make Music that they want to sing. So it's not just choral resources. There's also a fine amount of solo resources for vocalists.
And actually, that's a great point talking about the solos because with student seats, students have full access to that catalog as well. So if you want to encourage students to go off and explore, find different repertoire, whether it be choral, instrumental, solos, what have you, students can go off and explore the entirety of that catalog. And that's actually something that you can, we have little awards built into the grade book. You can actually turn on an exploratory award. So great for, especially middle school students, things like that. But you can also look to see what students are doing in your analytics as well to see are they going off and exploring the catalog as well.
And one assignment that I think is great was suggested by the educational consultant for Make Music, Ted Scalzo. When he was a band director, he would choose like 5 pieces that he was considering for a concert, and they were all within Make Music, and he would ask the students to vote, so they got to choose like 3 of the pieces they would play on a concert. So that's another way of using Make Music to engage your students in the listening and in the creative process.
Yep. And real quick, I did just see time, but I do at least want to address the question for a teacher-only subscription. Yes, you can just purchase the teacher-only subscription, and you can just use that for your in-class activities.